doesn't like a good happy hour early on a Saturday afternoon? How you guys feeling today, man? Off the Script Live, episode 399. I heard it's not fun to work for NXT anymore, man. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? What did you expect with Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon running the show? NXT War Games minus the takeover happens on Sunday night. I got all the news going into War Games tomorrow night. And we're going to round out your weekly news and rumors with everything you need to end your week in the world of professional wrestling. I see you guys, man, but I don't know what you guys are up to. Where are you guys going? I know where I'm going, though. I hope you meet me there. Because I'm headed to the OTS venue. But I got one question for you guys. On this early Saturday afternoon. What are you guys drinking? I'll see you guys over there.
AEW successful? Why is Tony Khan running his promotion better than Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard are running Monday night and Friday night? Long-term booking.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 399 on your Saturday, December 4th, 2021. I am JD from New York, and this is the OTS venue, man. A special live Off the Script on your Saturday afternoon. It is happy hour. The drinks are flowing. And I'm live early on a Saturday afternoon because I will be having very cold beverages later downtown in Manhattan with a very good friend of mine. And we will be indulging in the finest cold beverages that you could possibly find in Manhattan, man. So I'm very excited about that. So that is why I am live early on a Saturday afternoon. And there is a lot to get into, man. I'm glad to see some of you already lining up before the podcast even started. I know it is early for some, and this is not the usual time for the podcast, but by the time I'm done with this, it'll be the normal time when the podcast publishes to YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, and all other major audio platforms. So thank you guys very much for joining me on your Saturday afternoons. We got a lot to get into, man. We are going to cover the big story that came out of WWE this weekend, and it was reported by Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer Live that many people in NXT say the brand is just not fun anymore. And if you guys need any more confirmation as to what is really going on in NXT, Triple H being removed from power, and Bruce Prichard, Vince McMahon taking over, there are still people out there, believe it or not, that believe Triple H is still in charge of NXT. All of this coming out week after week after week after week. I don't know how anybody would think that Triple H is still in charge because it is so against whatever Triple H had created in NXT when he was in charge for all those glory years that we've come to know and love. We will talk about that and what Brian Alvarez actually said ahead of NXT War Games this Sunday night. Also, we will go over all the news coming out of NXT going into War Games. I got news on Ric Flair. Ric Flair seems to be the latest pro wrestling podcast that says ridiculous shit on his platform. We'll go over that. Charlotte Flair and Andrade no longer together. That was the other big story. Major updates on Walter making his way to the main roster. Also, backstage update on Triple H and Vince McMahon and the family dynamic and why he is unlikely to leave WWE. News on his cardiac event. I got news on that. And we got news on Beth Phoenix as well. We will continue to go over Beth Phoenix quitting WWE. Kyle O'Reilly contract news. And we'll talk about all the happenings coming out of Monday Night Raw as they set up for a big show on Monday with a steel cage match. Big E versus Kevin Owens inside a steel cage. Why Kevin Owens was added to the Day 1 WWE Championship match. And a potential spoiler on Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan going into their Raw Women's Championship match on Monday, this coming Monday on Raw. So thank you guys very much for joining me again on your Saturday afternoons. If you are in the chat right now, which right now I see close to 900 as people are still filtering in on this early Saturday afternoon, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, man. If you are in the chat right now, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. It helps out the video tremendously. Because when you hit that thumbs up, my podcast, my video, my channels get pushed to the recommended section on YouTube. So make sure you guys go and do that. I would really, really appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. If you guys want to hit that join button, become a channel member and a VIP, make sure you guys do that as well. You guys get a couple of perks when you sign up. You get the access to all those beautiful emojis. And then you get an off-the-script badge next to your name to show off your VIP status, man. So make sure you guys hit that join button and become a VIP right here on Off the Script. I'd love to reach the goal of 300. We are about 50 away, I believe, from 300. So if you guys want to sign up, I would love if you join the VIP club right here on OTS. Make sure you guys get those super chats in. Whatever you want to talk about, if you guys want to chime in on some of these major stories that we got today, you guys can sound off in the super chat, so get them on in. And we'll hang out at the end of the show, as always, and read through every single one of your super chats. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below, like I said. Turn on the bell for all notifications. If you guys want to go and check out anything else that I've uploaded on the channel, there is plenty of content this week. Monday Night Raw. We got AEW Dynamite. I did an extra. SmackDown, Rampage. Everything you guys need is right on the homepage. So go and check that out. If you want to get your merchandise, Bonfire is the place. Bonfire.com. All you guys need to do is look under the video player and you will see all of the major selling t-shirts on the Off the Script shop. Make sure you guys go over there. I actually added 2 more new items for the holiday season. Tote bags and coffee mugs. So make sure you guys go over there. You could actually use the code SCRIPT and save 15% off every single thing on that website, man. That's bonfire.com, the exclusive home of Off the Script. And today's sponsor, my very good friends over at Blue Chew, bluechew.com. That is code JD at checkout, and you guys are going to get a free sample of their service. That's bluechew.com. I want to make sure I thank them, as always, for sponsoring the podcast right here for episode 399 of Off the Script. We're going to start at the top here, man. There was a story about Elias. Is he dead? Nobody knows. But apparently, WWE was thinking about rebooting the Elias character. And Elias was actually backstage during Monday Night Raw. Now, I don't know if he was drafted to a brand. I think he is an undrafted free agent in the WWE realm. But they were cutting these vignettes of Elias in a graveyard, pretty much signaling the end of the Drifter character. And he burned his guitar, and he left his guitar behind. Nobody knew what was going on. All these innuendos and all these rumors that he may be the new Fiend. And people are making fun of it, saying that he got lost in the woods. He's actually still out there, lost in the woods, trying to find his way back to Stamford, Connecticut. You name it, it's been said about Elias. Now, Vince McMahon wanted to reboot the character. And Vince McMahon, one of his latest ideas for Elias, he was actually going to put Elias on television, but then he nixed every single idea that they had recently come up with for Elias because Vince McMahon thought he looked too much like Macho Man Randy Savage. Now, I don't know what type of gimmick they were going for with Elias, but Elias definitely does give off Macho Man Randy Savage vibes, and I honestly think it's not because of his wrestling ability. Savage was fantastic, but I honestly think it's in his facial features, his beard and his hair. So Vince McMahon nixed these reboot plans for Elias because he looked too much like Randy Savage. WrestleVotes noted on Twitter that there was no end game. As per usual in WWE, they do things without an end in mind. There is no end game for the Elias vignettes that aired a few weeks back, and the goal of these vignettes was to kill off his music gimmick. It was also noted that the initial rebranding idea had him looking too similar to Macho Man Randy Savage with colorful trunks and his beard, and Vince McMahon didn't like it, so they are now back to square one. Because something that emulates Macho Man Randy Savage is looked down upon in 2021. This is why I continue to say WWE hates their history. If you have somebody that looks like Macho Man Randy Savage and you want to take something influential from Macho Man Randy Savage and apply it to somebody like Elias, I don't see why that would be looked at as a bad thing. Now, I don't want you to do a carbon copy, a complete Macho Man-like gimmick. But if you could take influence and take little things here and there and pay homage to Macho Man Randy Savage with somebody like Elias, I honestly think that would get him over, more over than what he was doing with this shit gimmick of the Drifter. Because WWE killed that completely. The last vignette for Elias and the reboot aired in August. There's no word yet on what the new plans are and when he might pop up on WWE television again. I don't know what WWE thinks of Elias. I don't. The last thing I heard was that WWE was big fans of Elias. Management was big fans of Elias. This was before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, the character really didn't feel the same because they did the same shtick over and over again in front of nobody, and there was no true, real emotional investment there. Elias was a true heat magnet. He was a true heel. He said the right things. He was very good in the role. He got the crowd to hate him legitimately. But the thing is with Elias, WWE never followed up on that. They always treated him like a joke. They did the same running gag over and over again. He'd shit on the crowd. He'd play a couple of notes. Somebody would interrupt him. And they did this for years. And it never went anywhere. Elias could have been a great gimmick. It really could have worked. But WWE really never fully invested themselves in pushing Elias. And I would have loved to see him on a bigger stage. It was one of those NXT gimmicks that didn't work in NXT. If you guys remember, Elias was walking through the crowd and he was just drifting around. The crowd really never took to him. They were booing him every time he came out. Then he got promoted to the main roster, and then somehow he was doing the same thing, and it worked on the main roster. So when they say something that, is very NXT, doesn't work in NXT, that it may be ready for the main roster, they actually hit the nail on the head with Elias. But they never followed through with it. And I honestly think if WWE put some investment in Elias, we would have gotten a real good heel on Monday night. But they never followed through. And I honestly think with the Drifter gimmick, and I don't know if you guys were thinking the same thing, when Rick Bugenhagen, who's now Rick Boogs, on Friday Night SmackDown with Shinsuke Nakamura, those two would have been an excellent pairing. You would have the Drifter, and then you would have the crazy metalhead in Rick Bugenhagen. That would have been great. That would have been a nice pairing. That could have been an actual tag team if they wanted to fuse those two together. It would have been like the Sour Patch Kids, man. Boogs would have been all over the place, and Elias would have been the more serious of the two. I think that combination could have worked, but we are long past that. But that is what I was thinking when we seen the first incarnation of Bugenhagen on NXT. And then Elias was still doing his Drifter gimmick, playing the guitar. I thought they could have been a good team. But in my honest opinion, if WWE is continuing to reboot Elias and they don't know what to do with Elias and he hasn't made his way to television right now, I honestly feel that Elias is going to be a casualty of Nick Khan's budget cuts. Because if they're not making money off of him, if they're not putting him on television and they can't come up with a solid plan that's going to stick, this guy's going to end up getting released. And I feel whenever we get the next round of budget cuts, if Elias's name is on that list, I'm not going to be shocked at all. I honestly think that he is going to be a part of the casualties for the next hit list set forth by Nick Khan. That's just my take there. But if he's not on TV right now, if WWE is going back and forth on plans and he's not on TV after all of these vignettes aired and they got no end game and we haven't seen him on television since August, I don't think that really spells good news for Elias. Ric Flair. Ric Flair has a new podcast, and apparently he is talking about a variety of different topics. One of the topics he tackled this week was the issue with Seth Rollins being attacked by a random fan who did it for Rikishi, apparently, and said he was doing Finn Balor a favor. Ric Flair takes issue with Seth Rollins, saying he was terrified by his attacker and says Charlotte Flair could have taken the guy down. Now, I've heard a lot of stupid things on random podcasts. I mean, I've said some stupid things on this show. But if Ric Flair is making this into a topical discussion, and he is throwing shade at Seth Rollins for what happened a couple of weeks back in Brooklyn on Monday Night Raw, Ric Flair, honestly, is a fucking asshole. I don't know why this is a subject of discussion. Why are you claiming that your daughter could take down the attacker and why Seth Rollins is wrong for saying he's terrified? Nobody should be jumping the barricade, number one. And if the security in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center is fucking Joe Biden-esque, Sleepy Joe, they call him, right? If they're all fucking asleep, why wouldn't he be terrified? Clearly, they didn't do their fucking jobs. They let this guy jump the fucking barricade, right? Who's to say this guy didn't have a fucking weapon? Who's to say this guy didn't have a knife or some other fucking object that would do bodily harm to Seth Rollins? I don't understand you people. I would have been terrified as well. And of course, there was a little inkling of being terrified. I mean, Rollins was blindsided by this fucking guy. So if you're blindsided by this guy coming at you, running at you, and you didn't see him until the last split second, and this isn't part of the show, of course you'd be fucking terrified. Ric Flair said this, and I quote, "In all fairness, I could say a lot of cute things, but I'm not going to. Every time I say something, I have to involve other people, and they have to endure the consequences, so I'm just going to say this. I've seen that happen, but I've never seen it where I recall the mark, the fan, clearly was getting better or the better of the individual." Flair said he took issue with Rollins and what he said about the incident on TMZ. "My problem with Seth," says Flair, "is that if you're a top guy in this business, and you know anything about the psychology of what fans think and feel, which they really do, you never, ever, ever, ever get off an airplane in LA and say, I was terrified. Terrified of what? Terrifying is being in an airplane crash. You were terrified or horrified by a wrestling fan? Come on, man. What I would have done if I was Seth, which everybody should learn from this, is that even if the referees had him, I would have jumped back on him even if I never got a shot at him. I know your answer is going to be, well, there's lawsuits and all of that. The WWE would have covered the lawsuit. Seth would have got to get to him. And if you're a heel, you never admit defeat. You just don't do it. Do you think I've ever beaten anybody? No. But in the minds of most people, I didn't lose because I kept lying about it, even though it was at work. You never admit you got your ass kicked, much less being horrified or terrified, please." Flair then went on to state that when he started in the business, he had to be rough, and he named some of the toughest wrestlers from his era, such as Harley Race and Dick Slater. Flair also named some of the current wrestlers who he thinks are tough, including, of course, his daughter, Charlotte Flair. Flair said, "You got to be tough in this business, period. Even today, these kids are tough. I can tell you right now, and I can't help but bring her in. Charlotte can kick anybody's ass. Second-generation kids are taught to be tough. Roman Reigns, the Usos. I'm such a fan of kids that had to really be tough and just survive in life. If you've been a real athlete and really competed at a tough level, you're tough. You're mentally tough. You're physically tough. And you're honed and trained. If that same thing happened to Ashley, hypothetically, I don't know if the guy would have taken Ashley down. She's tough." And in the same breath, Flair put over Natalya and Tamina as current stars that are legitimately tough. He's always got to find a way to include his daughter. I don't really see why this is a topical discussion. Like I just mentioned, nobody knew, and the first thing that popped into my head when this fan jumped the fucking barricade and steamrolled over Seth Rollins and tackled him to the ground is, what if this guy had a fucking weapon? You're a part of the show. I don't think anybody there in the back of their mind is thinking, oh, who's going to jump the barricade today and attack me? There should be security measures in place, and that sort of thing should have never happened. So yes, if I was Seth Rollins, I would have been scared too, because who the fuck knows if this guy was able to jump the barricade and this guy was smart enough to jump the barricade and had the balls enough to jump the barricade, who's to say he didn't sneak in a fucking weapon into the Barclays Center? So Ric Flair is a fucking inconsiderate, insensitive asshole who doesn't know any better. So yes, I agree with Seth Rollins in being terrified. It's something that should have never happened. And I don't really understand why you're comparing your generation to this generation. I think Ric Flair's living in his own fucking bubble, to be quite honest with you. Really, really ridiculous that he even brought this up. And why didn't Seth Rollins attack the guy? If Rollins wanted to, he could have attacked the guy. But you want to know why Seth Rollins didn't attack the guy? Because he had the brains enough to know that it wasn't worth his time and that the guy was going to be taken care of. He knows WWE is going to take care of this and not allow this guy into any venue when they're in New York City. Rollins knew that if he attacked the guy, it would probably be a terrible public relations move on his behalf, and it would probably make the company look worse in the end. So Rollins did what he did. He let the officials take care of it and kick this guy out of the arena. Rollins didn't need to do anything. I think everybody in the back of their mind, me included, said, I wish Seth Rollins would have fucking curb stomped this guy right there. But he didn't. That was the first thought in my mind. Because fuck that guy and fuck everything that he did. But Rollins took the high road, and that should be respected as well. Anybody could have went in there. Rollins could have easily went in there and beat the shit out of this guy, but he didn't. I think that deserves a little bit more respect than going to beat this fucking piece of shit up very easily. So Ric Flair is an idiot. And Charlotte, I mean, I don't really see anybody tackling Charlotte or wanting to tackle Charlotte down to the ground. So I don't know why you're comparing Charlotte being able to beat this guy up, but Rollins is a pussy for not doing so. Ridiculous. Ric Flair, again, talk about ridiculous comments. Ric Flair thinks WWE should give Charlotte a Roman Reigns-like push. I mean, has he lived through the last 6 years? Like, what the fuck is he watching on television? Seriously. While speaking on his podcast, Hall of Famer Ric Flair stated that he thinks Charlotte should get a push which is similar to what Roman Reigns is getting in WWE. I don't know, because I do feel comfortable saying, and I think Roman Reigns is the biggest star right now in the company and could do a crossover and do whatever he wanted to do. But I'm going to say this, and I wish that they would give Charlotte the push they give Roman Reigns, which I'm surprised they don't, because the women play such a huge factor in success of the promotion that they would have the two biggest crossover stars, and that would make a huge difference. Charlotte Flair, says Rick, her father, deserves a Roman Reigns-like push. So I'm guessing the 12 or 13 women's world championships isn't enough for you. I guess holding an entire women's division hostage, Rick, is not enough for Charlotte Flair. I guess burying not only the Raw, not only the SmackDown, but NXT women's divisions is not enough for your baby girl. Right, Rick? And who's to say who they line up next? That's just probably going to run through. I guess that you don't realize they haven't created another star outside of Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley in the division. So what exactly are you saying, Rick? She doesn't have a Roman Reigns-like push the last 6 years? She's been the face of the fucking division for 6 years. Give me a break. And I'm going to end this discussion right here. Everybody says, and Jesse even said about the Seth Rollins thing, what if the guy had a mental condition? It's another good point. What if this guy was fucking schizophrenic or fucking bipolar? Who's to say this guy had a mental issue or didn't have a mental issue? Ric Flair is a fucking idiot. He really is. And this is even worse. You know, everybody says that Charlotte Flair is the Roman Reigns of the women's division. No, she's not. Every time Charlotte Flair is in the ring with somebody, how many of those people are made to look better for it? Does she enhance the overall in-ring aspect for that other individual she's in the ring with? More than likely, the answer is no. No. She hasn't helped aid in creating a new star. She hasn't put anybody else over. She always has this look of, I don't believe I have to do this for her. I should be getting all the spotlight. Fuck everybody else. It just reads all over her body language. Charlotte Flair does not give a single shit about building that women's division. Charlotte Flair wants the women's division to be only Charlotte Flair. I don't need to know Ashley. I don't need to know Rick. I don't need to work for WWE and work in the women's division. All you have to do is watch what she does. That is not the body language or the attitude of a woman that has the best interest of the division in her heart. The only thing that she has an interest in is making sure she looks good and nobody else does. I am tired of the Charlotte Flair discussion. Best of all time? Not even close. She's not even the best wrestler on her brand, let alone in the WWE. There are about 4 or 5 others I take over Charlotte as far as who is a better professional wrestler. And I'm even going to go out there and say, and some of these people may be butthurt about it, I don't really give a shit, because when you talk Charlotte Flair, you really fucking push my buttons, man. Charlotte Flair, everybody says, oh, when Charlotte Flair walks into a room, you look at a star. I don't think she's the biggest star on WWE's roster as far as the women are concerned. If Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks walked into the same room, I'm going to gravitate to Sasha Banks more so than I am Charlotte Flair. When Sasha Banks walks into a room, that's, if I didn't know either one of them, and both of those women walked into the same room, I'm going to look at Sasha and say, she's the star, not Charlotte Flair. Give me a break. Enough of the Charlotte Flair talk. Seriously, she's not the best of all time, and Ric Flair is obviously playing favorites because that is his daughter. Charlotte Flair also called off her relationship with Andrade El Idolo. They are no more. So what happened? Bodyslam.net reports that multiple sources have confirmed that they are no longer together and the breakup was not mutual. The report also states that it was Charlotte who ended the relationship. There are no other details on what caused the end of the relationship. In addition to unfollowing Charlotte on Twitter, Andrade also deleted photos of them together. The couple have been together since 2019, and they got engaged in early 2020. Charlotte had regularly traveled with Andrade even after he left WWE early this year. Ric Flair has regularly praised Andrade in interviews, but it was noteworthy that he hasn't mentioned him once since relaunching his podcast a couple of weeks ago. You know, I honestly think, looking back at this, and I mentioned this on the SmackDown review last night as well, there were some interesting points made by some people in my live stream chat last night. Remember when Andrade tweeted F-U, WWE? It was capital F, capital U, ... WWE. And he tweeted that the night Charlotte Flair dropped the title and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair got into that backstage altercation and that terrible swapping of the titles segment happened on SmackDown. Andrade tweeted that. And then coincidentally, it seemed to kind of correlate with what we're reading now about Charlotte Flair and Andrade. It was from that point where we started to get news coming out that they've unfollowed each other on social media and that pictures were being deleted on social media. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. I'm not saying that is the real legit reason why they split, But I wonder if that was an aspect of why they are no longer together. I don't really know. And I really question why they broke up. I'm wondering if Charlotte Flair, being in the position that she's in, was told by WWE management that she isn't really or hasn't been on top of her game for a very long time. And you could probably date that back to when she first started to date Andrade. She hasn't been the same. She's been off. She's definitely, and we've noticed it. Jesse has told me he's noticed it several times, and a lot of people have noticed it, that Charlotte Flair just had this aura about her where she would just be going through the motions. And you would see it written all over her face. It almost looked like she didn't even want to be there. And I don't know, if you're WWE and you're paying this woman and you're putting all your resources into building her up, if you're WWE, you don't want that type of influence to come down on her to a point where it's affecting her body of work. So who's to say somebody in WWE didn't really convince her, like this is not right for you. We want the best for you, but we honestly think this relationship isn't doing you good. And on the same hand, maybe the same thing could be said about Andrade. Maybe he put too much time into Charlotte Flair and he wasn't really going places because he was concerned more so about her than he was about himself. So maybe with this split, who's to say they don't get back together at a later date? Who knows? You know, sometimes people find their way back to each other. But who's to say that this relationship ending isn't going to benefit both of them as far as what they do for their respective careers? So it may be a good thing that they're not together anymore. But I wonder what happened there. I really do. You know, Andrade was tweeting that FU WWE tweet out, and maybe Charlotte took great issue with that. Like, listen, I know you love me, but you can't go on social media working for the other company, blasting the company that I work for because you're making me look bad. I don't know what the end result was there as far as why the relationship ended, but as far as what we know right now, the relationship between Charlotte and Andrade is no more. Another major update about Walter moving to the main roster. Walter's name continues to be in the news. He continues to be brought up on The Observer with Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. Another update has been provided regarding the ongoing speculation of the status of Walter, former NXT UK champion. He has since split with his wife, and there have been rumors that Walter is more open to moving to the United States, and the Wrestling Observer newsletter has some more news. A few days ago, Walter showed off a photo of himself looking absolutely incredible. Amazing shape that he's getting into, making him look even better than he did previously. He's thinned up, he's slimmed up, he looks a little bit more muscular, so he's clearly getting ready for something. Nobody knows what that something is. The Observer reports that there is indeed interest in bringing Walter to the United States, and the reason for him getting into better shape is because that is what is most important on the main roster. Of course, the United States could also include NXT, but I think you and I all know that Walter and what Walter brings to the table is not something that necessarily fits NXT 2.0. So I don't see him going back there, even though Imperium, his boys, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Aichner, are currently the NXT Tag Team Champions. But Walter is not going back to NXT 2.0. Having said that, Walter with Imperium, I honestly think should be brought up to the main roster, placed on SmackDown, and I honestly think Imperium should feud with the Bloodline, with Walter being the one at the end of the year, next year, to take down Roman Reigns and be the new Universal Champion and hold that championship for as long as possible. That's what I think should be done. And if you want to move him to Monday Night Raw, clearly you bring him in and debut him at the Royal Rumble. You have him feud with Big E for the WWE Championship, and you have him beat Big E at WrestleMania. Depending on when WWE wants to bring Walter in. I don't know. I don't know what that will entail or when that will be. I don't know. I can only say what I think would be best. I think Marcel Bartel and Fabian Aichner and Walter against the Bloodline or Imperium versus the New Day. It would be something very, very refreshing. I genuinely believe if you have somebody like Walter on your television, that it would generate a huge interest in the WWE again, because Walter is unlike anything that WWE has right now on both Raw and SmackDown. And he would be there a little bit more frequently than, say, a Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. You don't usually see him every week. Walter wouldn't be seen every week, or I would say I don't want to see Walter every week, but he would be a little bit more regular than an Edge or a Brock Lesnar. Walter would definitely pique an interest for people to start watching WWE again, especially if they build him up the way that we all know Walter should be built up. And I've said this time and time and time again. I have absolutely no faith in WWE building up Walter the way that he needs to be built up. They have not shown me anything to where I am going to trust WWE with Walter on the main roster. My first inclination is failure. This will be a complete disaster. And then WWE will get bored of him, and then WWE will end up releasing him in less than a year. That's my internal feeling. But I've said this time and time and time again. If WWE is contemplating on doing anything or changing anything or asking themselves, how do we book somebody like Walter? All you have to do, I'm not even saying go out there and use his foundation and thank him and give him the credit. All you have to do is look at what Triple H did with Walter and apply everything Triple H did and change absolutely nothing. You let that man go out there. You present him the same way Triple H did. You present him as an unstoppable force, and you don't change a single fucking thing about what that man can do in the ring. Nothing about anything regarding him should be changed. If I see something that's changed, I am automatically going to deem it a failure. Walter does not need to change a single fucking thing to be successful. Nothing. WWE does not have anything like a Walter on their main roster. That's going to bring the difference. That's what's going to get people interested. If you start to make him into everybody else, then you're going to ruin all of his appeal and nobody's going to give a shit. Somebody has to stand out. Somebody. Because right now, everybody all feels the same except Roman Reigns. Everybody feels exactly the same. NXT. Let's get into some NXT news as we got War Games on Sunday. I will be live on Sunday right here on Off the Script for the War Games post show. So make sure you guys set your notifications when you see that hit your sub boxes. I will be here immediately after the show goes off the air to talk about NXT and War Games. The ratings for NXT 2.0 are in for the go-home show for Sunday's pay-per-view. The show did 637,000 live viewers. That was actually up slightly from the 625,000 live viewers the show did a week ago. It did a 0.15 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, and the show last week did a 0.14, so again, slightly up there. It ranked number 34 in the top 150 shows on cable for the night. That is down from last week's ranking of number 31. I didn't watch anything but the ladder matches. I was told by a couple of people that the ladder match between Braun Breaker and Johnny Gargano was very good. In fact, that it was Braun Breaker's best match so far. And I would have to agree. I thought Johnny Gargano fared very well in that match, guiding Mr. Breaker to a very good match. And that's the only thing I watched from the show. Honestly, that's the only thing I watched from the show. But I did not go back and watch all of NXT this past week for the go-home show. I have decreased my weekly viewing of NXT to only when it is deemed appropriate. So this coming week, on Tuesday, I will probably be live for the NXT post-show on Off the Script after Tuesday's episode, because it will signal a complete refresh of storylines, and I want to see how much of the old NXT is still remaining after WWE, Bruce, and Vince, and everybody else completely kills everything that Triple H had created with NXT 1.0. Because this War Games pay-per-view, the old school versus the new school, is a blatant way for WWE to throw it in your face that Triple H and everything else that he's created is pretty much going to die on Sunday night. So I can't get behind the old school versus the new school because I know what it symbolically stands for. It means Paul Levesque and all his influence slowly but surely will be completely erased and nothing of the old NXT will remain. So I cannot get behind that at all on Sunday night. WWE announced an NIL, Next in Line Collegiate Athletics program. I mentioned this on the extra that I did on Friday afternoon. And WWE announced that the company is launching an NIL program that promises to provide a pathway from college to the WWE. Now, Triple H is supposed to be in charge of this, and he's supposed to be overseeing the entire program. As per the release on the WWE corporate site, the Next in Line program will allow WWE to recruit and develop future performers through collaborative partnerships with college athletes. Partnerships will give athletes access to the WWE Performance Center, as well as resources to train them for the likes of media, brand building, and community relations. WWE notably signed Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson to an NIL deal in September. Stephanie McMahon recently stated that WWE is hopeful that Steveson will join the full roster and join WWE full-time after he graduates. So WWE will announce a new class of NIL partnerships in the next coming weeks. This is, and I mentioned this yesterday, if you guys need any more confirmation on top of what we already know about the power change in NXT and how they have been recruiting, this is a complete deviation away from what Triple H did so perfectly in NXT. The Triple H method is now completely finished. This is only the exclamation point on that. They are no longer looking for independent wrestling talent. With this, WWE is pretty much saying, fuck your indies. We want nothing to do with anybody that's working the independent circuit. Unless you are absolutely out of this mind or out of their mind, out of this world, and you are the next coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin, or you could possibly be the next John Cena, which is a rarity. It may not even be a thing anymore. WWE will not look at you if you come from the independent scene. You have to be absolutely somebody that blows Vince McMahon away to a point where you are going to be the next star in WWE. But this is all but confirmed that WWE is no longer looking at the indies. Fuck the indies. And they want to mold people that have absolutely no inkling of anything independent wrestling related. They want somebody that knows jack shit about anything pro wrestling related because they want to mold you, sculpt you in Vince McMahon's image. The less you know about the pro wrestling world and the more you know about the WWE way of life, then you have a much easier way in to being a successful star in the WWE. That's what they're looking for. They don't want to be bothered with your independent bullshit, your flips and dives and fucking acrobatics. They don't want to have to teach you the WWE way, even though you're a professional wrestler. They want somebody where they could teach them from the ground up only the WWE way. They want nothing but the WWE way. This is what that means. This is the NIL program, the Next in Line program, where it's the program where WWE is distancing itself from professional wrestling. That's all that means to me. Backstage update on Triple H and the McMahon family dynamic and why he is unlikely to leave WWE. On a recent Pro Wrestling Torch audio show with Wade Keller, Wade Keller gave some insight on why Paul Levesque is unlikely to leave WWE. And if he did leave the company, he explained why he would not compete against his father-in-law and compete against WWE. Wade Keller says, and I quote, "I was told by somebody in WWE not too long ago that Hunter is not going anywhere. Their familiarity with the family dynamic is such where they are familiar enough with Stephanie and Hunter and Vince's dynamic that Hunter cannot cash out and just leave without it affecting the family dynamic in a way that was just more negative than something Triple H would do. That could change, and that person could be wrong, but their hunch was Hunter is either going to work in WWE or not, but not work against them in the pro wrestling business. Now, as previously noted, Dave Meltzer also shot down the idea of Hunter possibly starting his own wrestling company. Meltzer stated that Hunter's cardiac event was so serious and he does not have the funds to start a major national promotion to compete against WWE in any way. Wrestlers have been told that they can speak with Triple H on the phone, but they were told not to bring up any wrestling-related business. So they can call Triple H and ask him about the football game on Sunday. Which game did you enjoy most? They can't call Triple H and ask him about wrestling-related WWE business. If you guys need any more confirmation that Triple H is no longer in charge and that his power is at zero. Now, if you need any more confirmation. Not much has been said about Triple H's status, and he hasn't been backstage at NXT since his heart attack. Stephanie McMahon recently said during an interview that Paul Levesque is doing very well. Last month, he was seen in a brief video with his family at the construction site for the new WWE headquarters building. At this point, there's no word on when he will return to his duties with the company. Triple H is not returning to duties on Tuesday night. That is 100% true. I don't need to have sources. I don't need to work there. I don't need to do anything WWE related. Triple H is not returning to work. His power is now in the hands of Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard. Triple H was actively removed for the reasons that I mentioned the last 3 months. He was sabotaged, he was set up to fail, and they looked for any reason to get rid of him. This is why they did what they did with NXT going up against AEW. Triple H knew it was a battle he could not win. Triple H never advocated for that to happen. He did not want to go up against AEW. He did not want NXT to be moved off the network. He did not want NXT to be moved to 2 hours, but he was told to shill the WWE way and present it as the natural growth of the brand. But in actuality, it killed the brand. These were all Vince McMahon decisions. Whatever Vince McMahon says, Vince McMahon needs to have happen. So he put Triple H in that position knowing that he would fail, and then he failed. That's all the fucking thing Vince McMahon needed. That is everything Vince McMahon needed to remove Triple H from power. He needed Triple H to do something wrong after being perfect for all these years. And that was the one thing that he said, you know what? You think you can run my company? You think you're going to take over my spot? You can't even beat AEW with this so-called great roster of yours on NXT. Now we're going to take over the show. If you don't think that's the way things happened, let me tell you something, man. You people are fucking absolutely delusional. That's exactly what happened. Triple H, Paul Levesque, was sabotaged. That's the way things ended up being. As far as this, now, I don't expect Triple H to start his own wrestling promotion. I don't expect Triple H to go out there and sign all the people that Vince McMahon had fired and compete against NXT 2.0. There were people joking around who stole the egg, right? The Cleopatra egg that Vince McMahon brought to Monday Night Raw and then Survivor Series, right? Everybody's like, Triple H stole the egg. Triple H stole the egg and he's going to sign all the talent that his father-in-law fired and start his own wrestling promotion. You can joke about it all you want. Triple H is not going to do anything pro wrestling related because the people that gave him his cardiac event, the people that gave him his heart attack, those people are Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon. Why did Triple H have a cardiac event? Because Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon gave him a heart attack. Could you imagine what was said behind closed doors and the anger that was behind those closed doors when Triple H was told he was being removed from power and that NXT was no longer his and that it is now Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard's? That's what gave him the heart attack. This man gave 7, 8, 9 years of his fucking life to develop the future of the company only for it and for him to watch it get flushed down the toilet. This is why Triple H's heart attack was very, very serious, according to Dave Meltzer. Now, as far as the familiarity with the family dynamic, again, I want to say, Triple H is no longer in charge. He will not have any sort of power in WWE. If you need any more confirmation as to why that is, Keller, he said when he was talking about this, that the familiarity with the family dynamic is such where, they are familiar enough with the Stephanie Hunter Vince dynamic, and that Hunter cannot cash out and just leave without it affecting the family dynamic in a way that was just more negative than something Triple H would do. That could change, and that person could be wrong, but their hunch was Hunter is either going to work in WWE or not, but not work against them in the pro wrestling business. Not work against them in the pro wrestling business. To me, that means Triple H has thrown up the white flag and has conceded, and he is no longer wanting anything to do as far as talent relations or brand building or anything like that. He's pretty much given up. He's not going to work against them internally, and he's not going to work against them in starting his own promotion. Triple H has given up. He knows where he stands now. That is it. Maybe when Vince and Bruce are dead, maybe Triple H could have a say in what happens in the future of WWE. Until then, he is nothing more than a mere puppet. Dave Meltzer said that the cardiac event was very, very serious, according to one of his sources. Last week, in a post on the Wrestling Observer message board, Meltzer responded to speculation that Triple H possibly leaving WWE to start his own wrestling company. Meltzer shot that down. He has serious health issues, nor does he have the money to able to start his own company. This is much to do about nothing. End quote. Yes, Bruce Prichard, I will say it again, Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon gave that man a fucking heart attack. And nobody will convince me otherwise. Shawn Michaels says Triple H has not returned to NXT yet. Let me rephrase that, HBK. Shawn Michaels says Triple H has not returned yet. I'm here to say Triple H will never return. Shawn Michaels recently talked to Jim Varsalone, and he gave an update on Triple H's health. He said that he hasn't returned to NXT just yet. He says, right now, for me, I've told him, I don't care how good you are. You stay away, you get healthy, and concentrate on you. The thing is, he put in a fabulous team here, and that's why it's able to continue on without him, because he put a phenomenal team in place. I'm just the guy that gets to expedite everything and run traffic. The team he put in place was prepared for these kind of days, and we want him to get healthy. He doesn't have anything to worry about. We'll be here when he gets back. End quote. Man, Shawn Michaels is very optimistic, huh? Who's to say that anybody's going to be there? They're either going to be fired or they're going to walk out on their own, ask for their release, or quit like Scotty 2 Hotty or Beth Phoenix. Triple H is not returning to NXT. Shawn Michaels is going to be waiting a very, very long time. And yeah, he gets to expedite things, but Shawn Michaels, just like Hunter, is nothing more than a mere puppet. He sits in Gorilla and makes sure the show goes off without a single problem because Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard, they don't need to be there on Tuesday night. All they have to do is phone in via Zoom and let everybody know what needs to happen on the show, and then they have puppet Shawn Michaels run the show. Yeah, he gets to expedite things and make sure everything runs smoothly. Yeah, you're making sure everything runs smoothly for Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard. Good job there, puppet. People in NXT are reportedly saying it's not fun to work there anymore. Wow. I mean, this comes as a shocker to me, right? We've only been saying this for the past 5 years now, that this was exactly going to be the way it ended up. More so this year, more than anybody in the entire fucking community. I have been right about everything that came out of NXT. Everything. It's no longer fun to work there. During this week's Wrestling Observer Live, Bryan Alvarez talked about Beth Phoenix's departure from NXT. Phoenix is still with the WWE, and there's talk of her tagging with her husband in a storyline that involves Miz and Maurice. Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live that the option is there for Beth Phoenix to be a part of the feud on the main roster while continuing her full-time commentary duties on NXT. But that is not what is going to happen, and that she is completely done with the NXT brand. Alvarez said, and I quote, "It's not like she couldn't do the main roster feud with The Miz and Maurice and also do NXT commentary. She's just decided that she is done with NXT. Whatever that means, she says it's due to family. But this also, again, might not be the last person. Because no matter what you guys think about me or anyone else saying that NXT sucks, it does. There are people there who have told me that it's just not fun to work there anymore. It's no secret that morale in the company has taken a dive this year, not only with NXT being completely gutted, but with the record number of talent and staff being let go to what the company is saying are budget cut-related reasons. WWE brought in a crop of new talent to replace the experienced veterans, and the idea is to attract younger viewers with the younger faces and the new look of the show. But the ratings have declined since the reboot of the show in September, and the show doesn't resemble the NXT that fans were buzzing about for several years under the leadership of Paul Levesque. To WWE's credit, they sent out a survey a few days ago to find out what fans are liking and disliking about the current NXT. So perhaps we'll see some changes that can eventually bring in more fans and improve the backstage atmosphere. They sent out a questionnaire to find out what fans are liking and disliking about the current NXT. But I guarantee you that questionnaire will be answered by all of the same people that used to watch NXT under the leadership of Paul Levesque. And if WWE changes anything to resemble anything that Triple H did, that would be WWE admitting that Triple H was correct in everything that he did, but you won't hear that come from their mouths. They'll take it upon themselves to do what they need to do and fix the show and put the show back to what it was, and then they will take the credit for it as if we've never seen this before. I could see it now. Or on the other hand, we will see no changes made to NXT, and it will get worse as the weeks continue. I fully expect the brand to be completely killed. I'll be surprised if the brand is still on the fucking television network that it's on by the end of next year. There's nothing about NXT that resembles anything that Triple H did, and there's only a little bit that I actually enjoy of the show that I mentioned. Tony D'Angelo, Dexter Lumis, Braun Breaker is all right. I love Imperium, right? Santos Escobar. It's mostly the old guys. It's mostly the NXT guys that Triple H created. Until they're gone, Ciampa, right? Until they're gone, that's all that's left. That's all that's left of Triple H and his influence there. But there's a reason why I like those different individuals. Because they resemble, to me, the last dying breath of NXT. Tony D'Angelo is great. Listen, I get where WWE wants to go with NXT, and I've always been a more character-driven pro wrestling fan. I don't like everybody that comes from the indies and has no personality and no character. I mean, you could have 1,000 fucking Adam Coles. But what is that going to mean to you in the end if you got 1,000 fucking Adam Coles on your roster and I can't tell any of them apart? I need characters. This is why I enjoy a Braun Breaker when I see him. Because I was a big Steiner guy back in the day. And he's got that just natural charisma where it's almost like I have to watch this guy. And he's great in short bursts, but he's got a lot to learn. Tony D'Angelo, the gimmick is over the top, but that's what I like. That's what we loved about the Attitude Era, the over-the-top gimmicks. Tony D'Angelo's got a great gimmick that is relatable, and he's funny, and he's very good in the ring. I don't want to say he's great in the ring. He has the potential to be great if WWE wants to give him the opportunity to continue to grow. What about Joe Gacy? I've been very high on Joe Gacy lately. The gimmick seems to be finding its fit in with NXT. And I think the pairing with Harland has been great. Now, I don't really understand Harland. Harland is a different story, man. Parker Boudreaux, he's a different story. He's got this look about him, and he's got all these connections, apparently. If you follow him on social media, you see that he's well-liked by a bunch of different people. Major stars, rappers, hip-hop artists, whoever it is. They seem to be in the know with Parker Boudreaux. So I don't know why WWE has decided to dress him up as a fucking makeshift Nails, looking like Michael Myers on Tuesday night, pairing him with Joe Gacy when he's got this type of social media reach and social media influence. I don't know what they're doing with it, but I like the pairing. It's just very bizarre to me. So we're going to give that a little bit time to grow. Ivy Nile is great. I think Ivy Nile is fantastic. I want to see more of her. I think Duke Hudson is very good. I love the poker gimmick. It may be a little cheesy, but I think it works. I really do. Von Wagner, I know we mentioned Von Wagner. Listen, I can make fun of Von Wagner all I want, man. But I'm telling you right now, Von Wagner is going to be somebody that Vince McMahon is going to get behind because that's the type of guy Vince McMahon likes. And he's not that bad in the ring. He's not that bad in the ring. You give him a couple of years to mature, Von Wagner, I can see be a legit guy in the ring for WWE. There's a lot to like about NXT, but the overall vibe of the show, it comes off like Monday Night Raw Light. It is a fucking circus on most weeks. Some people are taking the notion of just enjoy it for what it is, and then, you stop comparing it to the old NXT. I'm not comparing anything to the old NXT. It's incomparable. You can't compare it to the old NXT. The fucking problem that I have is the different worlds about what Triple H wanted to do and what Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard want to do. There was nothing wrong with Triple H and what he did. WWE had more legit top-tier guys come out of NXT that they fucking dropped under Triple H than they do now. But the thing is, it all revolves around Vince McMahon's greed and pettiness and his fucking ego. There was no way that man was going to allow Triple H to create the future of the company because then everybody would be giving the accolades to Triple H. So Vince McMahon dropped everything Triple H did, got rid of everybody Triple H was high on, and now you see who Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard are high on, being that they're on TV, and when they succeed, Vince McMahon and his team will get the accolades, and they owe nothing to Triple H. That's the problem. So WWE's loss is AEW's benefit. At the end of the day, not really, but really, Triple H has helped mold All Elite Wrestling. NXT 1.0 was a feeder system for AEW. That's the way it ended up being. Little did Triple H know that was the way things were going to end up. He went to war with AEW, and now he's supplying AEW. How the world works, man. Very, very weird. But I don't know why people are not surprised by this. And there are people out there that still think Triple H is still in charge and that Triple H is coming back to work. No, Triple H is not coming back to work. It's not fun anymore. When you have Bruce Prichard, Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and Nick Khan making regular appearances at the Performance Center, the fun went right out the fucking window. Everybody knew exactly what was happening when those four men walked into the Performance Center. It's not fun anymore. No shit. It's not fun for us watching on Tuesday nights either. I can only imagine what the atmosphere backstage and what the atmosphere in the Performance Center is. Not fun? I'm not surprised anymore. What more do you guys need as far as NXT is dead? Triple H is not in charge anymore. What else do you need? What more factual information do you need? Did you ever hear anything in the news about NXT under Paul Levesque not being fun? The family environment that Triple H created when he was in charge was highly, highly talked about. Everybody loved the family atmosphere. Everybody loved the lackadaisical, just easy feel backstage. They just let things flow naturally. Things weren't overly scripted. You weren't walking on eggshells. Everybody respected each other. If Triple H had a problem with somebody, he had an open door policy. Or if anybody had any concerns, Triple H had an open door policy. Triple H was a real leader. Vince McMahon is not a real leader. The only thing Vince McMahon is leading is the trail of money to his fucking bank account. That's all he cares about. He doesn't give a shit about his roster. He doesn't give a shit about the quality of the shows. He doesn't give a shit about the fan base. If he did give a shit about the fan base, he would have his finger on the pulse about what the fans want nowadays, and what the fans want is professional wrestling. There is absolutely no reason why you can't do what you're doing and also do what AEW is doing. Why are people losing interest on Tuesday night? Because it doesn't resemble what we remember from the old NXT. So if you want to get back NXT and you want NXT to be the way that it was, you need to go back to what we were given under Paul Levesque. Are they going to do that? No, they're not. They're not. Going into War Games, this is a very telling weekend. It's not fun anymore. I want to see how much fun everybody that is over 34 years old, the old school team in that War Games match, I want to see how fun it is for them after War Games is over. Some of those guys may not even be there anymore. Pete Dunne, he's young, but he doesn't necessarily fit NXT's mold. LA Knight, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. This could be the last NXT pay-per-view for all four of those guys. All four of those guys. Gargano gone. Pete Dunne I could see being released. LA Knight I could see being released. Don't know why. There's money to be made on both Pete Dunne and LA Knight. Tommaso Ciampa, where's he going? He's not going to the main roster. He refuses to. He said he would rather retire than go to the main roster. Sunday night will be a very telling night for NXT. For a lot of reasons. But the fact that Brian Alvarez said that it's not fun anymore, and he's heard from people that work there that he knows that it's not fun anymore. It's not fun anymore. Why do you think Scotty 2 Hotty left? Why do you think Scotty 2 Hotty asked for his release? Would somebody like that, that's worked in the Performance Center under Triple H, would he have ever asked for his release? It was a very telling statement by Scotty 2 Hotty. He said the black and gold brand was something special. He mentioned nothing about this fucking fruit roll-up bullshit that we got on Tuesday night. This Lucky Charms-like fucking aura of NXT. He mentioned nothing about the fucking NXT 2.0 era. He said the black and gold brand was something special and will always remain in his heart. That was a very telling line from Scotty 2 Hotty. He said, at this point in my career, I feel like I'm just accepting a paycheck with no other benefits behind it. And if I ever felt like I was going to work to simply just collect a paycheck and not enjoy myself, then it's time for me to walk away. You never heard anybody under Paul Levesque's team, on Paul Levesque's team, under his leadership, say anything about that. It took Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard to take over the show for him to quit. Who's to say he is the only one? There may be others that are afraid to walk up and say what Scotty 2 Hotty said. Then Beth Phoenix leaves. You think Beth Phoenix and Scotty 2 Hotty leaving in back-to-back weeks is a coincidence? This is the same reason why Scotty 2 Hotty left. Beth Phoenix is leaving for the same reason. I had people telling me, how do you know? How do you know? Do you know anybody? Do you have sources? Why can't it be about family? Because it's a bullshit reason. Beth Phoenix could do the main roster shit with The Miz and her husband and also do the NXT commentary gig. She doesn't need to give up one to do the other. She's a WWE employee. She was hired under Triple H. She worked next to Mauro Ranallo when Mauro Ranallo was there as a lead commentator. And then all of a sudden, it takes Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard to lead NXT, and now she wants to quit? Who says she can't do both of them? Then she mentions family. I'm leaving for family. No, you're not. You're leaving because it's not fun anymore. You're leaving because there's no emotional tie to it anymore. You're not going to hear that from Beth Phoenix. I know. You're not going to hear that from anybody that knows Beth Phoenix. I know, but the writing is on the wall. Just take a look at every single story leading up to where we are now. Scotty 2 Hotty leaving last week, and now Beth Phoenix leaving this week, yet Beth Phoenix is citing family? Give me a break. Beth Phoenix left for the same reason that Scotty 2 Hotty left, but you'll never hear it out of Beth Phoenix's mouth because she is getting ready to do WWE Main Roster shit with her husband, and she can't compromise that paycheck. So she's got to be a good little soldier in Vince McMahon's army. NXT is dead. Dead. It's still being buried this weekend. How much more dead it will be, we'll find out on Sunday night. Beth Phoenix main roster plans. PW Insider did make a point of mentioning that Maurice's return on Monday wasn't a one-off, so expect to continue seeing her with The Miz in coming weeks. Phoenix is currently slated for the feud with Edge to team in a mixed tag team match with Miz and Maurice. Don't know when this match is actually going to happen. I would like to assume that it may take place at day one. For the love of God, I hope that it does not bleed into WrestleMania. I hope not. Because I would rather Edge go up against somebody that's WrestleMania worthy and not the fucking Miz. WWE is considering dropping the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. WWE could be making changes to the Cruiserweight Championship despite it being regularly featured as a part of NXT. Dave Meltzer noted on this week's Observer Radio that he has heard of the talk in WWE that WWE is potentially getting rid of the Cruiserweight Championship. Roderick Strong is set to defend the title on Sunday night at War Games against Joe Gacy, who is clearly over the 205 weight limit. And that's happening on Sunday, like I said, at War Games. Just this past Tuesday on NXT, Gacy teased what is being called an all-inclusive championship. Now, I'm going to get into what I think about this in a second, but Meltzer said, and I quote, "Did you see the Joe Gacy segment on Tuesday? It feels like they're going to change 205 Live. I've heard they want to ditch the Cruiserweight title. The all-inclusive championship, is that going to be the deal?" Brian Alvarez then pointed out how WWE may not do that, considering WWE wouldn't let Joe Gacy wrestle any female performers. He speculated that it could be called the open weight title, but brought up how the brand already has two separate titles for the men's division, the NXT title and the North American Championship. Meltzer added, "It's different people running the show. Old people are running the show." If you guys need any more confirmation that Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon are running the show, old people are running the show. It would not have. They wanted the Cruiserweight title to be legit. They told everybody to be 205 pounds and under, or they can't be in the division. That was under Paul Levesque. You think these guys are going to do weigh-ins? You think Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard are going to do weigh-ins? They stopped doing weigh-ins a long time ago. The whole idea of Joe Gacy challenging for the Cruiserweight title and Malcolm Bivens, who leads Diamond Mine, waiving the weight limit, yeah, that's from what I understand. The whole 205 Live thing is not how Vince McMahon does things. We'll have to see what happens, but they've talked about that. I know they've talked about changing the 205 Live weight thing with the Cruiserweight title thing. I don't know if they're going to do it in this situation here. It feels like they are, because Gacy is getting all kinds of TV time. Meltzer continued to state by saying Gacy has potential, and that's why he is being pushed currently on NXT. You know, I mentioned this when I talked about this on Friday. NXT's Cruiserweight Championship was one of the biggest fails that WWE had in recent memory. You know, instead of making it something important and using it as a vehicle to drive excitement to the show, WWE took it, and usually, you know, I spoke highly of the Cruiserweight division and the Cruiserweight title. WWE took the excitement of the Cruiserweights and did what it usually does with people that size and neglected every single aspect of it. I don't understand how you couldn't find money or find a way to use the Cruiserweight Championship to make your shows better. I don't understand it. In a division with a Cruiserweight title behind it, Look at all the fucking talent you had in this company at one point or another. You could have had matches to open Raw. You could have used the Cruiserweight Championship as a vehicle to fucking fuel Monday Night Raw and bring some excitement to Monday or Friday. Why exactly did we need women's tag team championships when there is absolutely no division? You pushed a fucking women's agenda that wasn't there to fit the fucking need of a bunch of fucking incels on social media to fit a goddamn fucking quota. That's all you did. You pandered to the fucking people on social media by giving them something that you did not need because they wanted it. You did nothing with the women's championships. You continue to do nothing with the women's championships, and they're fucking worthless. As far as I'm concerned, every time a women's tag team match is on, I walk the fuck away. It is absolutely nonsensical television. There are no teams in the division. You don't even have enough women in the division to call it a division. Yet we have tag team titles? Same thing with NXT. Did NXT need women's tag team titles? Of course they didn't. The right thing to do would have been taking the main roster women's tag team titles and moving them to NXT. But that wasn't going to happen because Vince McMahon didn't want Triple H to have control over something that is on the main roster. That was never going to happen. There was a power struggle there. But now we're looking at the death, potentially, of the Cruiserweight Championship. You mean to tell me that, and think of this, think of what I'm about to tell you right now. Look at the booking of Dominic Mysterio. I'm using this as an example because I brought his name up in several different instances. Do you think Dominic Mysterio is anywhere where he needs to be as far as building his future? Dominic Mysterio is a fucking afterthought, and he's the son of Rey Mysterio. He hasn't looked good in anything he's done. The only thing of note that he's done was feud with Seth Rollins and have that great match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam during the pandemic. And that was mostly due to how good Seth Rollins is. You mean to tell me that Dominic Mysterio couldn't have started out in NXT while Santos Escobar was the Cruiserweight champion? You mean to tell me that with Legado del Fantasma and their entire presence being that they want to change the way Cruiserweights and Luchadors look in WWE, right? You mean to tell me that Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio couldn't be the two guys to go up against Legado del Fantasma where you build Dominic Mysterio up by having him win the title that is most synonymous with his father? I don't understand how you have these resources in the company and you don't use what is right in front of you. Dominic would have been better off for it. He probably would be a much better wrestler if he was in NXT instead of bringing him right to the main roster where he's having 2-minute fucking matches with fucking Sami Zayn. And Rey Mysterio's presence would have been on NXT to guide his son from the beginning stages of his career to make him a better pro wrestler. But what the fuck do I know? What do I know? Look at the Finn Balors and the Ricochets and the Cedric Alexanders and the Alis on your roster. The Humberto Carrillos, the Angel Garzas of your roster, right? At one point in time, a Buddy Murphy on your roster. A Drew Gulak. You got absolutely no fucking way that anything regarding the Cruiserweight Championship should have failed. WWE did what they did because of their ignorance. They killed something that should have been a major, major success on their brand. The Cruiserweight Championship should have been something that was floated between Raw and SmackDown, just like the women's tag team titles. There's absolutely no reason why a Cruiserweight match or Cruiserweight Championship match or Cruiserweight division did not exist on the main roster. None. Now we're talking about it failing and being abolished, with Joe Gacy potentially winning it on Sunday to change it to an all-inclusive championship or an open weight championship. Neither one of those ideas will sit very well with me at all. There's no way. There's no reason to make it an open weight championship. NXT does not need another men's singles title. We got the NXT title and the North American title with the tag team titles for the men. That is enough. The more you add titles, the less valuable the other titles become. We don't need an open weight championship. It is something that is just unnecessary. And we don't need an all-inclusive championship either. I don't want women challenging for men's championships. The women have more than enough in WWE to a point where they don't need anything else. They were given championships with their tag team titles that were completely unnecessary. You don't need to have them going after men's championships right now either. There's not enough to do with the women's championships. Now you want to put the women in the men's division and have them fight for a men's championship and wrestle the men? First of all, I know this is not going to happen in WWE because they're a publicly traded company and it's going to be a terrible look on them. But Jesus fucking Christ, keep the women in their own division. There's a reason why they have world championships. I don't want them mingling it up in the ring with the men. Save that for a fucking indie promotion that works out of a fucking beer brewery. I don't give a shit. Some bingo hall where they want to do fucking women's wrestling, women and men. I don't give a shit. The only reason why Impact did it was because it was going to be headline news, quote unquote, when they did it. That's the only reason why they did it, for a buzz. Other than that, I can't see WWE doing that. Keep that shit separate. There's no need for it. If Joe Gacy wins the Cruiserweight Championship, have him retire the Cruiserweight Championship. That would be the best thing for him to do. But WWE dropped the ball on the Cruiserweight Championship, man. What a fucking fail if I ever seen one. There's no reason why that title should not have been prestigious on both Raw and SmackDown. Kyle O'Reilly, WWE contract is looking pretty good for him leaving. Reports are that O'Reilly's deal comes to an end before the end of the month, which has led to plenty of speculation about what he might do next. In an update from Fightful Select, they are reporting that much like Johnny Gargano, WWE is interested in keeping O'Reilly and has approached him about re-signing. The report also mentioned that Kyle O'Reilly has passed on signing a new deal that was offered to him in late 2019, along with some other NXT stars. His contract coming up soon was said to be a bit of a surprise to him since so many WWE contracts have time added because of injuries or other reasons. However, WWE wasn't caught off guard by O'Reilly's deal coming up because the company took the time to start paying more attention after being surprised by Adam Cole and Pete Dunne's contracts coming up earlier this year. Kyle O'Reilly is as good as gone. If he's neglected a WWE contract being offered to him, then he probably knows that he has no chance of survival in the company if he stays. What exactly is Kyle O'Reilly going to do in WWE? What is he going to do? If he stays, and this is the same thing I'm going to say about Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano, what if he stays in WWE? Why do you think Johnny Gargano is better off in WWE than joining another promotion? If Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly stay, they will be babysitters for all the new up-and-coming talent in NXT. Meanwhile, both of their ceilings have been met in NXT. Johnny Gargano will never be the same Johnny Gargano that he was. Meanwhile, we know he still can actually physically do that. And he knows the dream matches that he could have in an All Elite Wrestling. Kyle O'Reilly, his ceiling was met when the Undisputed Era was at the top of their game. He has not even come close to any sort of success like that with himself away from Undisputed Era. As soon as Undisputed Era died, Kyle O'Reilly's push was pretty much at a stalemate. He wasn't going anywhere, no matter how badly or how great him and Adam Cole were with their trifecta matches. Not going to happen. Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano are going to be babysitting the NXT roster. So I think Kyle O'Reilly is gone. Johnny Gargano's gone. WWE can be interested in all they want. I can sit here and call them fucking hypocrites because what exactly do you think you're going to do with Johnny Gargano? You already explained to us that Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly are not the type of professional wrestler you want on your roster. So what exactly do you want them for? Kyle O'Reilly is going to AEW. There's a reason why Bobby Fish was signed, and Kyle O'Reilly is not an idiot. He sees Bobby Fish and Adam Cole having the time of their fucking life over in AEW, and Undisputed Era is going to be 3/4 complete. When the next round of cuts comes and when Roddy loses that Cruiserweight Championship, he will be as good as gone. He doesn't fit their mold either. WWE finds no value in Roderick Strong. He is as good as gone, and when he's released and his 30 days are up, he'll be in AEW as well, and Undisputed Era will live on once again in AEW. Johnny Gargano, I don't give a shit where he goes as long as he doesn't stay in WWE. That man and Kyle O'Reilly are as good as gone. SmackDown. From 11:26, ratings increase for the number one contender Battle Royal. I do not have ratings for last night's show. Those will not be available until Monday morning. Friday's show last week averaged 2.149 million viewers on Fox. That was up from last week's 2.064 million viewers. In the all-important 18 to 49 demographic, the show did a 0.57 rating. That is up from the 0.52 rating a week ago. The show that happened before this one, that was the lowest demo since the October 8th edition of SmackDown. The main event was a show, or the main event of the show, rather, was a Battle Royal won by Sami Zayn, who become the number one contender for the Universal Championship, held by Roman Reigns, which we saw last night was a complete waste of everybody's time because Sami Zayn was absolutely embarrassed to a point where I could legitimately bury him completely. Sami Zayn was buried by WWE management. And Sami Zayn was shown the exit out of WWE. Here's another guy, rumored to be up with his contract. His contract is rumored to be up. Where's he going? Clearly, if they did what they did to him last night, he has no interest in signing with WWE, and WWE let Sami Zayn know exactly what they think of Sami Zayn. SmackDown has been utterly fucking trash every single week since the draft. There's not one show I could look at and say, man, this was a good show. Maybe the Madison Square Garden show was a good show, but outside that, since that show, they haven't put on one good show. The entire show revolves around Reigns, Lesnar, and that is it. Maybe a Sasha segment, but outside that, the show has become a legit fucking fail. On some weeks, it is as bad, if not worse, than Monday Night Raw. We're at a point in our lives where we could actually say Monday Night Raw is better than SmackDown. I didn't think that was even fucking possible. But we're here. We are here. Monday Night Raw from Monday. This week's edition of Raw drew an episode. The episode drew a 1.678 million viewer rating on the USA Network. That was down from the week prior of a 1.7. The 18 to 49 demo saw the average of 0.45. That was down from 0.49 the week prior. Last week, the best demo the rating show has done since the October 4th episode in 2021. The 18 to 49 demos had hour 1 at a 0.43, hour 2 did a 0.49, and hour 3 did a 0.45. Raw was ranked number 6 in the top 150 shows on cable for the night, which is the same as the week prior. An NFL game was at the top of the chart as always, with a demo rating of 10.8 million viewers on ESPN and ESPN2. Wrestlers were not happy about WWE referencing released talent in their storylines. I mentioned this, and WWE actually omitted this from the re-upload on YouTube. This week on Monday Night Raw, WWE attempted to push the envelope with Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, and Edge when they all cut promos, and Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch cut a promo to promote their Raw Women's Championship for next week. Morgan blamed Becky Lynch for the release of Ruby Soho and Sarah Logan because, according to Morgan's character, she feels like they would still be with the company if Lynch didn't have such a big money contract. Of course, that is completely inaccurate, since WWE is making more money than ever before with or without Becky Lynch on their roster. The line from Liv Morgan on Monday Night Raw about her friends being released has been removed from the version that was posted on WWE's YouTube account. Now, however, According to those who think it was Morgan's idea to bring up the idea of her friends being released and mention them being fired, PW Insider said that was not the case. And according to several sources, the line was written by Vince McMahon or someone on the creative team. So if it was somebody on the creative team, it was clearly approved by Vince McMahon to be in the final script of the show. So it was ultimately Vince McMahon's decision to leave it in the show if he did not write it. Or maybe Vince McMahon wrote it himself. I don't know. In another segment on the show, Edge told The Miz that he left his friend hanging so he could pursue Dancing with the Stars. And while his name was not mentioned, it was a reference to John Morrison. Edge also referenced how people on the other channel mentioned The Miz just to get a cheap reaction. So clearly somebody in WWE was watching AEW Dynamite or watched a clip uploaded to AEW's YouTube page, because how the fuck would they know that The Miz was mentioned on AEW Dynamite? Somebody was doing their homework. There was also a line from The Miz about being unhappy about Edge not mentioning him among the names he wants to wrestle. That line was a mirror image of what MJF said last week on Dynamite about CM Punk not mentioning him during media interviews on people he wanted to wrestle on his way back into AEW. In regards to Edge's promo where he referenced what he said during the MJF CM Punk segment from Dynamite, that would have likely come from Edge, since Edge, and I mentioned this on my Raw post show, Edge has creative freedom to speak what he wants. As long as it's approved by Vince McMahon, Edge is going to go out there and cut a promo with bullet points or cut a promo straight from the gut. You are not scripting Edge, and Edge is not scripted on Monday night. Edge reportedly wanted to include some realism during his feud with The Miz because he knew there was nothing there to get anybody interested, so he needed to come up with something to get people interested. Thus, we had the line thrown in there about Miz being mentioned on Dynamite. And he wanted to include some realism during his feud with The Miz. And what he said is likely not something the creative team would have come up with. Some of the segments on Raw appear to have been scripted in a way to take a jab at last week's MJF CM Punk promo and to use the news about the recent WWE releases to add heat to two of their storylines. During his Raw post-show, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said that he's heard from people who previously worked for WWE and one current wrestler who was not thrilled with these segments. Sapp said, and I quote, "It happened several times during the show, and I had former WWE wrestlers, former WWE producers, and a current WWE wrestler that were all telling me how bad a taste they thought that was." End quote. WWE tried to create some extra buzz. WWE tried to push the envelope and get some social media reaction. And it appears most fans realized that WWE was forcefully manufacturing something when there was nothing that was actually there. Again, I got called out on this. First of all, let's start with the Liv Morgan situation. The Liv Morgan promo was absolutely ridiculous. I called that out before Sapp even said anything on his post show. I said, why would you mention the releases of Ruby Riott, Ruby Soho now in AEW, and Sarah Logan, and use that as a fuel for the Liv Morgan storyline? What does that have to do with Liv Morgan chasing the WWE Raw Women's Championship? It has absolutely nothing to do with the storyline. First of all, Liv Morgan went out there and cut a promo that was horrible. She sounded overly scripted to a point where the way she was reciting it, it sounded like she walked through the fucking curtain and had just memorized her line in 5 minutes, or her lines in 5 minutes, and that's the way it was projected. Nothing in the sound of her voice sounded genuine. Nothing in the sound of her voice or the verbiage that she used sounded like Liv Morgan. It legitimately sounded like she recited it as if she just memorized it, and it sounded as if somebody wrote that shit for her. Now, I said, if Liv Morgan went out there with bullet points and you had Liv Morgan cut a promo from the fucking gut and from the heart which nobody in WWE does but John Cena, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Edge, guys like that. Those guys are not scripted. But Liv Morgan is never going to be one of those people in WWE that is given bullet points and told to go out there and own it. She's always going to have to recite lines written by some fucking pencil neck idiot in the back. Or by Vince McMahon himself. If Liv Morgan went out there and cut a promo from the heart, how much better do you think this promo segment would have come off? It would have been immensely better. And I would not have been complaining about Liv Morgan. But the fact that she threw that line in there and Vince included that line in there proves that WWE is only insensitive to everybody that got fired, and they're making more money, and it's public knowledge that they're making more money than ever before, but they are making light of the releases because of Becky Lynch's big money contract. Motherfucker, you could still employ more than half of the people that you let go and still be making more money than ever before in this company's history. So why did that need to be brought up in this promo segment to fuel a storyline with Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch? All WWE needed to do was build up Liv Morgan in a way where management has held her down. How she hasn't had any opportunities. Like women, like Becky and Charlotte, continue to hog the spotlight and don't help anybody to get over or help the division to get over how selfish they are. That's all you needed. And Liv Morgan, all she needed to do was emit this emotion of being held down by management because she's not like the others. But here we are. WWE's trying to push the envelope by mentioning people lost their jobs. And then Becky Lynch makes the comment that she deserves to get paid. I'm sorry, Miss Lynch. Did those other people deserve to get fucking fired? What a terrible fucking segment. And for all the people that think Becky Lynch is losing the championship to Liv Morgan, and now WWE is going to give Liv Morgan the ball, give me a fucking break, man. Do you know what show you're watching? On what planet do you see Becky Lynch losing to Liv Morgan and losing the Raw Women's Championship to Liv Morgan? The Edge segment. I don't know how many more times I got to talk about this. This may be the final time this week. Until WWE copies AEW's homework again. It was a blatant ripoff. Edge was fine. I love Edge. I think Edge is fantastic. He's doing some of the best work of his current WWE run. Some of the best work of his career is happening in this run. Every promo that he cuts, I feel it. It's real. You know it's coming from him. But The Miz using a line that MJF used, word for word, and people told me that it's not the same. Really? Then why did MJF say it on Wednesday, and then The Miz reiterated what MJF said to CM Punk when he was confronting Edge on Monday? But it's not the same, says the social media fucking geeks online. The oxygen thieves online. It's not the same. WWE clearly took a page out of AEW's playbook, watched that segment back, and said, you know what? That got a lot of buzz. We're going to do the same thing with Edge and Miz. MJF, they want to call him a less popular Miz? Fine, we're going to bring out The Miz. And the fact that The Miz was mentioned on Dynamite, and it was this huge segment that got over so big with everybody. You mean to tell me that after that, The Miz shows up on television next week after already being eliminated for 2 or 3 weeks now from Dancing with the Stars? Now you want to bring him back? Sure, AEW did their thing and WWE didn't copy. Sure. Continue to think that wasn't the case. This was a blatant ripoff and nothing about it resonated. MJF and CM Punk was all legit, from the gut, from the heart. The Miz was reading scripted lines written by somebody that thought it would be slick to steal AEW's homework and maybe apply it to WWE television. WWE's looking for every which way to remain relevant in the world of professional wrestling. And what I find funny is they want to be a part of the discussion, but they don't want to call themselves professional wrestling. But here they are, stealing homework from a company that calls themselves professional wrestling. It was a blatant ripoff. And nothing about Edge and The Miz is going to resonate with anybody. There's nobody out there, and you could fucking tell me right to my face, and I'll look right at you and claim you are a fucking liar. There is nobody that desired to see Edge in the ring with Miz continue lying to every one of these blithering idiots on social media. Nobody asked for Edge and Miz. Nobody. Give me a fucking break. Potential spoiler on Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. WWE has their upcoming Christmas show at Madison Square Garden on December 26th. Some of the matches that are announced include a steel cage match between Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. So that could signal that Liv Morgan is not winning the championship. It is unlikely that she will lose the championship, Becky Lynch, to Liv Morgan on Monday's Raw in their Raw Women's title match. The other matches for the show for this holiday edition of Madison Square Garden WWE Live: Big E versus Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, triple threat steel cage match for the WWE title. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, a steel cage match. So they got two steel cage matches on one show. Overkill, if you ask me. And some of the other talent included on the show are Randy Orton, Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Omos, The Miz, Rey Mysterio, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, Zelina Vega, and the Street Profits, with much, much more appearing. I'm not going to the show, and those shows usually are fucking boring, if you ask me. Nothing that happens on this show will be interesting or newsworthy at all. Backstage praise for Doudrop and Dana Brooke. Carmella was knocked out by Rhea Ripley with a clothesline on Raw. Some notes to come out of Monday Night Raw and that awful 10-women's tag team match. PW Insider reports that Carmella was legitimately knocked out after taking a hard shot from Rhea Ripley's clothesline on Raw. Carmella eventually regained her composure and then continued with all the planned spots that she was supposed to do on Monday Night Raw in that match. PW Insider noted that off camera, WWE had someone to check on Carmella to make sure she was okay, and she never left the ring apron, so there was no doubt in her mind that she was going to continue the match. PW Insider also noted that a lot of people backstage were thrilled with the 10-woman tag team match, and there was a feeling that the wrestlers rose to the occasion after being given 3 segments. One of the people praised backstage was Dana Brooke after she took a big bump on the outside of the ring, where she was caught by the other women at ringside. Doudrop also received a lot of praise for her work. Liv Morgan won the match, and the goal was to get her over for the title match against Becky Lynch on next week's show, and the feeling was that the goal was accomplished. I think WWE is delusional. The 10-woman tag team match on Raw was fucking just as bad as the one at Survivor Series. Liv Morgan was not over and did not get the job done on Monday night. WWE, all they did with this was realize how much they fucked up at Survivor Series, how much the fans hated this match in Brooklyn at Survivor Series, and then they opted to give you another tag team match to redo that match in New York, in Long Island, knowing that they fucked up, knowing that they didn't get Liv Morgan over at Survivor Series where she should have been the sole survivor so that she looks decent enough to go into a match with Becky Lynch. She was eliminated early on. So was Toni Storm, who has a championship match coming up with Charlotte Flair. WWE said, that match sucked. Everybody shit on it. Let's give them another 10-woman tag team match and do it over again, and maybe we'll right the ship. And they didn't. They didn't. It was WWE trying to correct their mistakes, and it was just as bad as what we saw at Survivor Series. Nothing got accomplished in that match on Raw. I don't see what Doudrop did so great. Dana Brooke, I don't know what the fuck everybody's praising Dana Brooke for. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? That match was horrendous. Legitimately terrible. I might have walked away. Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was added to the Day 1 WWE title match. Why was he added? On the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that there was a method to the madness, including Owens, who may be on his way out of the company, allows him to eat the pin without hurting the ongoing feud between Owens and Rollins. They want to lengthen the feud, and Kevin made the most sense. Meltzer says, and I quote, "This allows them to stretch the feud between Big E and Seth Rollins because Owens can get pinned and they can keep the feud going. Because on that side, as long as Big E is a babyface champion, it's going to be tough to put Edge in there. I mean, who else is there other than Rollins and Kevin Owens? And Kevin Owens, we don't know how long Kevin Owens is going to be in WWE. His contract is coming up at the end of January after the Royal Rumble, and then he'll have a decision to make. End quote. This Monday on Raw opened with a singles match between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. Seth beat Balor with the stomp. In the backstage interview segments, they built up to Owens being added. A match was made between Big E and Kevin Owens, where if Owens won, he got placed into the match. Rollins got involved, accidentally handing the victory over to Owens by disqualification. The title match will take place on day 1, January 1, 2022, which is a Nick Khan production. Now we know why Owens is involved in the WWE title picture. This all signals the end of Kevin Owens in the WWE. That's all that this is signaling. This is not good storytelling. This is WWE not giving a fuck about Owens. They're using him to further who they have on their roster now, while they all know Kevin Owens is probably walking away from the company at the end of January. This is not good storytelling, like I said. Owens went out and probably looked the smartest out of everybody. He played up to the fact that Rollins would get emotional. He attacked Rollins during the match. Rollins got involved and caused a DQ, giving Kevin Owens the victory. Rollins looks like a blithering idiot as far as his character is concerned, because he was looking at this match wanting Big E to win so that Big E and Rollins would remain a one-on-one match, but then he physically gets involved knowing what the consequences would be and intentionally gets Kevin Owens the victory, and now it's a triple threat match. So how exactly is this good storytelling? Big E looks like a fucking idiot. Rollins looks like a fucking idiot. Now we got Rollins in a triple threat match with these two guys, and Kevin Owens is in a steel cage match against Big E next week. Why? Why? He's already got a championship match. Why do we need to put them in a steel cage match? It makes zero sense for them to be in a steel cage match. And when has a WWE cage match kept the outside participants from the inside? I can't remember. So why are we getting a steel cage match other than ratings? Kevin Owens already has his championship match at day 1. If I was Kevin Owens, I would boycott this match, and there's no reason to be wrestling Big E in a fucking steel cage match. Ridiculous. WWE just does things for the sake of doing things. Dynamite. AEW Dynamite draws the lowest total viewership and key demo in its normal time slot since May of this year. The live viewership numbers for Dynamite are 861,000 live viewers this week, down from 898,000 the show did last week in the 18 to 49 demo. The show did a 0.31 rating, which is the same as a 0.31 rating the show did last week. The show did its lowest total viewership and key demo rating in its normal time slot since May 19th. That edition did a 0.28 key demo and a rating of 821,000 viewers. The show ranked number 3 in the top 150 shows on cable for the night. That is the same ranking that the show did a week ago. Listen, I don't know why Rampage is down. I don't. Usually, AEW is appointment television on Wednesday. I don't know why there is such fluctuations between what AEW does on a week-to-week basis. Some week they could be close to 1 million. Some weeks they'll be over 1 million. Some weeks they'll be where they are now, 861. The week prior they did almost 900,000. I don't know what the fluctuations are for. You know, same thing happens with WWE. WWE always takes an uptick when the football season is over and there's no weekly football. When the basketball season goes into a little, time off with the All-Star game, and, when basketball's not in season, usually see pro wrestling up. I don't know what the reason is. A lot of people are saying Dynamite needs to change things here and there. As far as I'm concerned, Dynamite doesn't need to change anything. What exactly does Dynamite need to change? A lot of people are complaining about nothing. A lot of people complained about CM Punk and Lee Moriarty on AEW Dynamite. A lot of people are like, well, I want to watch Dynamite. I want to watch Punk, but I don't want to watch Punk in a match that's a nothing match, and I know he's going to win. But people don't really understand that the match is being made and the match is there, but the main thing that's going to happen on Dynamite is continuing the feud between Punk and MJF, which we saw because MJF cut a promo on CM Punk, and Punk cut a mini promo on MJF. So what exactly is the problem? We get a bunch of nothing matches on Monday Night Raw. We get nothing but rematches on Monday Night Raw. It's fucking ridiculous. So why aren't people watching AEW Dynamite? People are saying that Dynamite needs to change. Do they need to give away big money matches for you to watch? When they say that the fans and their mentality and their attention span is that of a goldfish, that they have absolutely no attention span whatsoever, that they want, and they want to digest everything quick and to the point, it couldn't be more true. So you don't want to watch Dynamite because there's a bunch of nothing matches that usually lead to long-term storytelling, that usually lead to long-term booking. But you want to watch Dynamite when there's big enough matches for you to be interested in, like Winter is Coming. So does that make you a fan of Dynamite? Does that make you a fan of AEW if you're not watching or you're selectively watching what you want to watch? If you don't watch, Dynamite has given you the mentality of, if you don't watch, you're going to miss something really fucking cool. If you didn't watch Dynamite this week in Atlanta, you missed Cody Rhodes putting ANdrade through a fucking flaming table. You didn't watch that live because you didn't expect that to happen. But Dynamite and AEW have given you the mindset of, if you don't watch, you're going to miss something fucking cool. If you didn't watch last week when MJF cut the promo on CM Punk and vice versa, you missed one of the best pro wrestling segments of all time. So why are you not watching? I would be very curious to know in the chat why you're not watching. Now, the ratings will be up for Winter is Coming. No question. It may be over 1 million for Winter is Coming. That's a big fucking match. Bryan Danielson versus Adam Hangman Page for the world title. And then seeing what happened last year, you don't think fans know that, well, Tony Khan debuted Sting last year. Who the fuck's showing up this year? So they will get better. And they usually get higher and higher with the pay-per-view build, in the middle of the pay-per-view build as we get closer to the pay-per-view. But I would be very curious to know why people aren't watching Dynamite. Why do you think people aren't watching Dynamite in the chat? Let me know. Rampage, they got their own fucking problems. Rampage, for 11/26, set a new total viewership low, draws the second lowest key demo rating for the show. Rampage drew 431,000 live viewers and a 0.18 rating in the 18-49 demo on TNT. Last week, the show did 556,000 live viewers with a 0.22 rating in the 18-49 demo. Rampage ranked number 17 on the top 150 shows for cable on the evening, and that was the same as last week's number 17 ranking. This is the lowest total viewership set by the show and the second lowest key demo rating for the show in its history. The record low key demo rating was set on October 8th with a 0.17. Listen, I could sit here and claim that Rampage is failing. I will not do so. I'm not going to give them the failing rating that you want me to because of the time slot and the night that it's on. Rampage has given off a vibe of an extension of Dark. Tony Khan has not made Rampage must-watch. Rampage was fine last night with Tony Nese and Sammy Guevara and the Lucha Brothers versus FTR, or Pac and Pentagon, the Death Triangle versus FTR. It was fine last night, but it doesn't really resemble that on most weeks. Tony Khan has a very difficult task ahead of him to make Rampage into something that resembles the true B show. We're not going to get the real Rampage until it's on a Thursday night at 8 p.m., and the show is completely live every single week. People are not watching Rampage because there's no reason to watch Rampage. I wish I didn't have to watch Rampage. I didn't. If I wasn't doing a live stream show, I would not watch Rampage live. Because it's not live, it's a tape show, and the fans are not stupid. The fan base knows that they can get the spoilers whenever they want. And if nothing important is happening, why are they going to go out and watch? Just the fact of the matter. Rampage is not failing. It's just a show that has yet to become AEW's true B show. And when it is finally the B show and what you see on Dynamite bleeds into Rampage, then we can start grading Rampage the way it should be graded. Other than that, it's just another 1 hour of wrestling on television That doesn't have any importance whatsoever. It should not be compared to what Dynamite is doing. It should not be compared to WWE. It is simply a 1-hour show to give opportunity to those that can't make it on Dynamite, an opportunity on Rampage on Friday night, and that is it. I don't know why people are getting up in arms and wanting AEW to fail, and AEW is dead. There are people online that take great pleasure in seeing the ratings fall to the numbers that they're at. But my question is, why are you complaining? Why are you shitting in someone else's yard when your own yard has failing ratings, some of the worst ratings? WWE's accumulated the worst ratings for Monday Night Raw in its 30-year history in this year alone. If you look year over year, you will see WWE's dwindling audience. Football is not an excuse anymore. The MLB is not an excuse. The NBA and NHL are not an excuse. The fucking Westminster Dog Show is not an excuse. Sleep is not an excuse. Monday Night Raw is fucking garbage. Don't shit in somebody else's yard when your fucking yard is littered with the same amount of shit. Okay? Monday Night Raw is garbage. You have no fucking reason to speak on what Tony Khan is doing when your show is equally as fucking terrible. It's the worst show in the business. So shut your fucking mouth. Several AEW contracts are set to expire soon. Tony Khan wants to sign Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega to new deals. Wade Keller talked about this on the audio portion of the PW Torch. He discussed the 2-year contract extension the Young Bucks have been given, and they are signed now through 2024. Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes are looking to be signed to new deals. Keller stated that there are wrestlers in AEW who are looking at their contracts and are wondering what is next. Khan has stated in interviews that he did not want to do mass releases during the pandemic. It appears that the wrestlers in the company who worked in year one will work out the duration of their contracts coming up, and it's not guaranteed that everybody will be brought back and be given a new offer. Keller said the following about the upcoming contracts coming due, and I quote, "There are people that I've talked to in AEW who are looking at their contracts and wondering what their deal is going to be next time when their first deals come up and how much leverage they're going to have with WWE or New Japan or even GCW, seeing their ticket sales increase and selling out the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. I've heard that the intent is to get Kenny and Cody, and Tony wants to come to deals for both guys. There's not signs that any of them want to leave or are disgruntled to a point where they shouldn't be able to come to an extension, but I don't know the situation. Maybe Cody and Kenny already have signed extensions and they are keeping it quiet. Actually, I'm pretty sure that hasn't happened now, thinking about who I've talked to already. I think Cody and Kenny might be next in terms of signing extensions. Some of the roster have already signed new deals. Britt Baker signed an extension. Scorpio Sky signed an extension. MJF is slated to have his deal up in 2024. Joey Janela stated that his contract expires in May of 2022. There are no words on anybody else who has a contract coming up, but many of the people in AEW that signed when they first started are all set to become free agents. Tony Khan is not going to be bringing back any of those first-year individuals, and the only ones I could see signing on are Paige, Pac, Jericho, guys like that. Everybody else that he wanted has already re-upped and signed. But all those first-year guys, the men and women that he brought in, they will be let's go. Their contracts will be up, and Tony Khan will be letting them go. There's no reason to have them around anymore. There are bigger fish to fry as far as Tony Khan is concerned. Tony Khan also wants to sign Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes to a contract extension. That is going to happen. They are not going anywhere, and there should be absolutely no reason to think why they would go anywhere else. Bryan Danielson says his current AEW run will be his final 3 years as a full-time professional wrestler. Danielson says he believes this will be the last 3 years he will be performing as a full-time wrestler. He says, and I quote, "I honestly feel like right now I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been. I've learned a lot in my 10 plus years in WWE. I honestly feel like in some ways I'm actually a little bit of a better athlete now because of the way I train and all that kind of stuff than I was even when I was 30 years old. I feel like mentally and physically I'm the best I've ever been." Danielson continued, "I signed a 3-year contract with AEW. I consider these kind of like my final 3 years as a full-time wrestler, but also not just like, okay, this is me winding down. This is me to the peak. This is going to be the best that I'm ever going to be in ending my full-time career at that, ending it as the best version of myself. And we are looking at the best version of Bryan Danielson right now. He is right now untouchable. Untouchable. The current version of Bryan Danielson is the best version of Bryan Danielson. So please, less complaining when you see him on television. See, a lot of people claiming, oh, Bryan Danielson should be used as a part-time guy, as a guy that is kept special and not on TV every week. You're not going to tell Bryan Danielson what to do. If this is his final 3 years as a full-time guy, you better fucking believe he's going to get in everything that he wants now. And you better shut your mouth and fucking enjoy it while you have it, because there's not going to be another Bryan Danielson. I never seen people complain about the most fucking ridiculous shit in my entire life. Oh, Punk's on TV too much. Oh, Punk is this and that. He's wrestling a bunch of nobodies. Bryan Danielson's on TV every week. Punk has been away for 7 fucking years. Don't you think the man wants to wrestle? You asked for CM Punk for 7 fucking years. And now that he's back on television, you're telling everybody that you're seeing too much of CM Punk? Are you fucking right in the mind? Honestly. And then Bryan Danielson, too much Bryan Danielson. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh my, if I had Bryan Danielson on my payroll, I wouldn't want to use him either. Give me a fucking break. The real reason why Cody Rhodes went through a flaming table spot on Dynamite. I talked about this on Friday's Extra. Rhodes reportedly wanted to create a new memory in his hometown of Atlanta, where the show took place. Back in February of 2020 in Atlanta, Rhodes took on Wardlow in a steel cage match, memorable for Rhodes because he did a moonsault off the top of the cage. The idea this time around was to do something even bigger and more memorable than that, and that's why the flaming table came into play. Please respect Cody Rhodes. I know a lot of people want Cody Rhodes to go away or they want him to turn heel. You know, the fact that Cody Rhodes opted to put himself through a fucking flaming table, I think we need to shut up and appreciate the lengths that Cody Rhodes goes through and goes to entertain us. So let's stop the Cody hate. When he turns heel, he turns heel. If there's one guy in this industry who knows what he has to do and has his finger on the pulse, it's Cody Rhodes. So less Cody Rhodes hate, please. I get that you want him to turn heel. I want him to turn heel too. But I've always appreciated Cody Rhodes for what he did for us. So let's stop the Cody Rhodes hate. And let's stop the Adam Cole hate, man. Adam Cole was in everybody's mouth as of late and has been since he has kind of moved on to these mini feuds with Orange Cassidy and Jungle Boy and Christian Cage. Adam Cole reacted to Tony Khan defending his booking since joining AEW. Now, Adam Cole and what he gave to NXT since 2017, I mean, it was an amazing, a truly amazing run. The Undisputed Era solidified themselves as one of the best stables in all of WWE history. He competed in several of the brand's best matches. He was the face of NXT. He owns the best NXT match of all time. It will never be duplicated. It will never happen again that way. And it may be one of the best matches in WWE history with Johnny Gargano at TakeOver New York. Everything about it was perfect. 5 out of 5 stars. It seems he also reacted to Tony Khan's comments about his booking in AEW. Adam Cole was done with NXT at TakeOver 36, and shortly after that, Adam Cole's contract expired, and he joined AEW. In the end, he joined All Elite Wrestling, made his debut at All Out, and shocked the pro wrestling world, and everybody celebrated that Adam Cole Bay was back home. Cole has already become one of the mainstays of AEW television, and fans are always excited to see him every single week. AEW president Tony Khan recently fired back at criticism of Adam Cole's booking in the company. Adam Cole took to Twitter and seemingly reacted to what Tony Khan said as well. He says, and I quote, "No matter where I've gone, no matter how long it takes, I've always become the guy. Always. Hashtag Adam Cole baby. Hashtag boom. Hashtag super click. These comments are coming from a bunch of blithering idiots who don't realize that Adam Cole is eventually going to be the AEW World Champion. You do realize that AEW has... Now, I know you're a bunch of fucking retards out there that can't accept or understand the fact of long-term booking. But this is a different monster. Adam Cole is getting his feet wet in AEW. Adam Cole is working with the Jungle Boys and the Christian Cages and the Wheeler Yutas and the Orange Cassidys of the world. Do you think that's going to last forever? Truly, do you think that's going to last forever? When you have Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly probably coming on in and maybe a Roderick Strong before all is said and done, and we may have a full Undisputed Era reunion in AEW. And when Kenny Omega comes back, you realize that Kenny Omega is not going to be in the same role that he was in with the Super Elite, and that Adam Cole and Kenny Omega may be feuding next year at some point. Are you going to complain then? Are you going to tell me that Adam Cole is still buried? Adam Cole is going to be a future AEW champion. You know, Tony Khan mentioned in a recent interview before AEW even started that he had the first 4 people on his mind already that he wanted to make world champions in chronological order. I guarantee you that Tony Khan knows who the next 4 world champions are going to be, and one of them is going to be Adam Cole. Shut your fucking mouth. Adam Cole is one of the best professional wrestlers on the face of the planet, and he's going to be AEW World Champion. And when that happens, I want you all to issue Tony Khan and Adam Cole a fucking apology, because you are so impatient that you can't wait for greatness. Give it time. I am tired of people complaining about these things when there are bigger things to complain about. Let it progress naturally. That is all I got, guys. That is all I got. I gave you the news, and Off the Script is live on Saturday afternoon. Hit that thumbs up if you guys have not done so, man. Thank you for hanging out with me. We had close to 1,400 strong today on a very early Saturday afternoon. I know this is a weird time, but I want to do Off the Script live a little bit more often. I think you guys enjoy it a little bit more. I think I enjoy it a little bit more as well. I think we're going to do it live from now on. And I honestly think that we got to come up with a good time. I think the 5 p.m. time on Saturday or Sunday is something that works very well. I think we will iron those details out as the weeks come, but I'm glad you guys joined me, man. If you're still here and have not hit the thumbs up, man, let's try for, what's the goal? Did I say 1250? I think it was 1250, right? 1,250 likes, guys. We are 30 away from 1,250 likes on the podcast. So if you guys are still here and have not hit the thumbs up, please hit that thumbs up and show your support. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys continue to hit that join button. Become a VIP right here on Off the Script. Go check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. There's a ton of stuff right there for you. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JDfromNY 206. And today's show is sponsored by my great friends over at Blue Chew. BlueChew.com is sponsoring today's episode 399 of the podcast. Blue Chew is a unique online service that provides the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night. And you guys can even plan ahead and be ready whenever that opportunity arises. The process is very simple. All you guys got to do is sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed online medical providers, and once you're approved, you will receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office. No awkward conversations. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. And Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped direct to your door in a very discreet package. Has a special deal for everybody listening to episode 399 live. You can try Blue Chew for free using code JD at checkout. That is BlueChew.com. Use code JD at checkout to receive your first month free. And I want to thank them for once again sponsoring Off the Script right here for episode 399. Let's get into the Super Chats, guys. Get your Super Chats in. Let me know what you think of all the major stories dropping today on the podcast. Let's start at the top. Philip Newton with a $4.99 Super Chat. With Triple H no longer in charge, the mass exodus has begun. I ordered NWA Hard Times 2 because I love pro wrestling, not sports entertainment. The mass exodus will begin and become very apparent, Philip, going into the new year. Susan D'Ambrosio with a $5 Super Chat. JD, it's such a shame that Vince and Bruce are running Triple H's NXT into the ground. Can I please get a peanut butter whiskey and a Guinness, please? Jesse, I think we're all out of peanut butter whiskey, man. I think I call you on the security camera sneaking some shots, bro. What are you doing? You can't be drinking the product, bro. I'm going to have to dock you pay. In fact, you know what? I'm not even going to dock you pay. I'm going to issue you several DDTs, courtesy of Thunder Rosa. You were only going to get one. Now you got 4. And no lip, okay? She's coming. Chicago, she's coming, bro. And Guinness. Well, I know we got Guinness. I mean, I never leave the home without Guinness. Dwayne Jackson becomes a new member. Thank you, Dwayne Jackson. What are you drinking in the venue, bro? Also, Dwayne leaves a $19.99 Super Chat. Hey, love the content. You're always right when it comes to WWE creative. This WWE morons always hate the truth. All WWE stands that hate the truth are giving you the sign. Shame, guilt, insults, and the need to be right. Dwayne, that's the comment of the night, brother. You are 100% correct. Oh, Jesse, you are the bartender when Issa is not here, brother. When Issa's in the chat, then we know that you're off duty. She's not here. Thank you, Dwayne Jackson, man. I appreciate you, bro. Seanster213 with a $2 Super Chat. When the AW game drops, will Mr. 9 to 5 return? Abso-fucking-lutely. Boom. Raging Girl Gamer becomes a member for 15 months. Thank you, Rage. We need more Charlotte Flair on TV. She's still better than Roman Reigns, goddess of WWE. Her father knows what's right. Listen, Hooligrim, if you're still in the chat, bro, I need you to escort Rage out of the venue. Get her out. Get her out. And dock her some months of membership, man. Get her out here. Have her sit behind the venue with fucking Bob, the homeless bum that sits behind the venue. Come on. Wilhelm Hendrick Fullard becomes a member for 13 months. Wilhelm, thank you so much, brother. Charlotte Flair is not even in talks when we compare it with Roman Reigns. Everyone around Roman turns to gold, but Charlotte, they usually end up getting buried. You know, this Roman Reigns feud or this Roman Reigns agenda, this run that he's on, isn't really necessarily building up anybody else but Roman Reigns. And that's not because of Roman Reigns. That's because of WWE creative. They usually take somebody and build them up, and Roman makes them look great. And then WWE, after Roman is done with them, Roman moves on to somebody else, and that person goes right back to where they were before they got in the ring with Roman. It does not work that way. It should not be the case that way. Zach JD with a $4.99 Super Chat. Do you think Vince would let AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy walk? I could see them both being all elite, but you could see Vince letting them go easily. Yes. I think, I don't think WWE is just going to let them go easily, but I do think Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles are going to want more when their WWE contract is up. AJ is going to be at the end of his career. He wants several things that WWE cannot provide him. I think AEW will be able to provide him that. And I do think Jeff Hardy wants to have a final run with Matt, and Matt's in AEW, and I think the Hardys have one final run in All Elite Wrestling, where tag team wrestling truly does thrive. Johnny Laurinaitis with a $1.99 super chat. I watch off the script because Raw is boring. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you, bro. Raging Girl Gamer with a $9.99. Hologram, I thought I told you to kick her out. What is she still doing? $9.99 super chat by Rage. If Omos was on SmackDown, he needs to be the one to pin. You know, I'm not even reading it. Not even reading it. I'm not even reading it. I'm not even reading it. It is 4:30 in the afternoon, and Rage is a raging fucking drunk already. I don't believe it. Captain Solo with a $2 super chat. He leaves a super emoji-con that says, cool. I spit in the face of people who want to be cool. Thank you, Captain Solo. Kratos with a $5 super chat. Move over, Dark Side Phil. There's a new King of Hate on YouTube. His name is JDfromNY 206. Who the fuck is Dark Side Phil? And why is he so hated? Kratos leaves a $2 super chat. It's not a bad thing. That's what he calls himself. The King of Hate. I don't even know who the fuck that is. Sting, 29, with a $5 super chat. To answer your question, JD, a Von Wagner is a loose German translation for noble wagon maker. So Buffalo Bill is a wagon maker. AEW is the best. AEW number one. Is that what a Von Wagner is? A loose German translation that equals a noble wagon maker? I think they need to cart Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon off in a fucking wagon. Von Wagner will never be accepted with that name, bro. I can't envision a Von Wagner getting over on WWE television. He is so uncool, it's not going to work out. Saints 2025 with a $4.99 super chat. The only reason I haven't watched Dynamite is because I've been having trouble with TNT's app, and that's the only way I can watch Dynamite. I honestly think some of the reason why AEW's taking a hit in the ratings is because of the time that it airs in California, I think. If I'm not mistaken, Brian Alvarez mentioned something about them not airing in California or something to do with the time scheduling in California. I don't know what the validity of that story is, but I don't know, man. I don't know why people aren't watching. I know I'm watching. That's all I give a fuck about. I don't give a shit. AEW isn't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Munchie Time with a $19.99 super chat. Hey, JD, happy to be able to listen to the podcast while at work. It being one of the only things that gets me through the day. Also, keep my mom in your prayers. She's recovering from shoulder surgery. Keep up the great work. Munchie Time, thank you, brother. Thoughts and prayers out to your mother for a speedy recovery. My dad actually needs a complete shoulder surgery himself, so I'm dealing with the same thing with my dad as you are with your mother. Ricardo Linnell becomes a member for 17 months. Ricardo, thank you so much, brother. 7 months until the golden mic. Will there be a live show for number 400? The Twitter geeks should apologize to you when Adam Cole becomes AEW World Champion. There will be a live show for 400. We will come up with a time and a date for it in the week to come, brother. Thank you so much for your membership, bro. I appreciate you. VC Stallion, thank you for your super chat of $1.99. Would you take a job as head creative for WWE? Yeah, if Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard weren't my boss, yes. Absolutely. I think I have a lot of ideas that would get over very well. And I think I'm very knowledgeable of the product. And I think WWE would be better off with somebody like me working there that legitimately cares. Brylan Williams with a $3 super chat. Much love to you, JD. Hope you're having a good day. Bryland, thank you so much, man. As soon as I get a cold beverage in my hand, the day will get better. Rasad McDowell with a $9.99 super chat. JD, I knew WWE was in the dumps after the screwed up Nakamura and white hot heel in Rude. Yeah, they screwed up Nakamura big time. Nakamura is a failure of an Intercontinental Champion. And Bobby Roode, man, my God, was he a great fucking heel in NXT, man. They brought him to the main roster, and on day one, the guy was dead. All because Vince looked at his theme music and heard his theme music that resonated with Vince as a babyface. Oh, the fans are singing his theme. I can't have them singing a heel's theme song. It's babyface. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Bobby Roode never, ever, ever felt the same when he left NXT. I think WWE would actually be watchable if you had full control of creative. I'm curious as to know who you'd put on your wrestling Mount Rushmore, says VC Stallion with a $4.99 super chat. I think I answered this question the other night, brother. The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Shawn Michaels. With an honorable mention of Bret the Hitman Hart. Saints 2025 with a $4.99 super chat. Do you think 2K22 GM mode will work good with the small roster they have right now? I don't know, brother. WWE 2K22, I'm not really looking for it to be a big deal. I think it will be overhyped, and I think it will let everybody down just like the rest of the games have been. I don't think people will be interested in 2K once they get their hands on it. When AEW's game drops, I honestly think many people will be playing that one more than the WWE game. I think it's going to look better, it's going to feel better, it's going to sound better, it's going to play better. I don't think WWE's game is going to stand the chance. I think the game is dead, and I think this is the last year for 2K. Guys, that is all I got tonight. We hit the goal of 1,250 likes. Thank you so very much, guys. I appreciate you all. I really do. Marcus Gunn with a $2 super chat. JD, keep up the good work, bro. Thank you, Marcus. Always appreciate you, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this live episode of Off the Script. Next week, we will be at episode 400. We got 400 episodes of the podcast, man. 400 episodes of Off the Scripts. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it, man. It is crazy. It is legitimately crazy. Anyway, guys, I'm about to head out of here. If you enjoyed the show and have not hit the thumbs up, please do so. 1,300 likes. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for hanging out with me on a very early Saturday afternoon. We're just about at the normal time when the podcast gets uploaded at 5 p.m., man. Couldn't ask for a better time, man. I'm like Batman. Right on time. Anyway, guys, continue to follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Go and get your t-shirts this holiday season, guys. You guys can save 15% off on Bonfire getting Off the Script merch. Use code SCRIPT. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Go check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Everything you need is listed right there on the homepage. And tomorrow night, we got NXT. I was going to say TakeOver. It's not TakeOver. It's NXT War Games. NXT War Games tomorrow night. I will be live in the venue. We're going to be jumping in the Mustang. And we're going to be heading to the venue for a live stream right after NXT War Games has concluded. So make sure you guys join me then. Anyway, guys, I'm about to hit the road. I need two things from you. Number one, I need those guitar emojis in the chat. And if you got them, my VIPs, I need those Mustang emojis in the chat as well. And when you hear that guitar solo, come on, from Pilot, I need that music on max. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for NXT War Games right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.